Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Let me first do the mic check. Okay, mic works. Audio is great on YouTube. How it is on Twitch? Okay, on Twitch it works as well. Great, 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 great. All right. So hi, y'all. Nice to see you on this lovely Sunday morning. Here in my neighborhood it's super hot right now and sunny. I hope it is nice where you live as well. Fitfire, hi, sup? This is not my main channel, but I wish you good luck learning. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Fitfire also says, just so you know, I'm using Unity. Oh, great, bro. Great, great. What is your main channel? And what are you doing in Unity? What kind of project? What kind of genre? What are you currently, what is your current challenge in making your stuff? I love to hear about, all the stuff that you're creating and what kind of, let me adjust camera a little bit. DevHex, this is my main channel. Okay, so Fitfire is DevHex. Good to know. So hi, should I relate to you as Fitfire or DevHex? Which way you want? Or are you good either way? So, yeah. I wonder what kind of stuff are you doing with Unity? DevHex says, I don't care. Okay, so I will refer to you as DevHex. Just not to get too confused, right? Today, I want to look into Unreal Engine 5.6 plugin that's been in the Unreal cooking for a little bit. The plugin is called Texture Graph Editor, and it's supposed to be a little bit like poor man's version of Substance Designer. And I kind of want to play around with it. I never really used Substance Designer, so I was thinking, what could I do with this graph texture editor? And my partner suggested to me, hey, why don't you just, turn on like a simple Substance Designer tutorial, how to make sand texture or some other simple texture, and try to recreate it with this. And I'm like, okay, let's try that. Let's try, doing all of that stuff. DevHex answers my previous question about what kind of stuff, they are doing with the Unity. And he says, I have tons of projects. Nice. I gotta go to record my tutorial video. Great, great. How do you say it? Wish you luck and, have a nice adventure and fun. Yeah. DevHex says, have fun. Yeah, thank you. Have fun, you too. And I gotta subscribe to you to see what kind of tutorial are you doing. So let me quickly click on your channel and subscribe. Oh, you got tons of cool stuff. And shorts as well. Nice. Okay, let me subscribe. I want to see your tutorial that you will be recording. So I'll see you soon on your on your stuff. I did Flappy Bird. I cannot speak today. I did Flappy Bird tutorial a long time ago. I will watch it. I will watch it. DevHex says thanks. Subscribe too. Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah, I'm always, when someone drops me knowledge like here in chat, like, hey, I'm doing tutorial video, or hey, I'm doing this cool thing on my channel, I will always, just subscribe, because I'm always curious what kind of stuff people are doing, It's always inspiring, etc. So you know, it's really cool. Goddamn thing. DevHex says, I was burned out because of school. Oh, I get you. School can burn out a person like a motherfucker, right? I remember how it feels. I truly remember it. Okay, so texture graph. First things first, we need to turn on that plugin. I haven't clicked on it beforehand, so let's go through the whole route of how to turn it on. You click edit, as I did, go to plugins, here, open up the plugin window. Let's type in texture. We see a lot of stuff, right? But what is interesting to us is texture graph. In here, we click, toggle it. It is version. I cannot speak today. What the hell is wrong with me? And song came perfectly. This song is called Jestem w dupie in Polish. It was recorded by me and my friends like 15 years ago or something. And roughly it translates into English as I'm fucked. Literal translation is I'm in the ass, but the translation of the meaning would be I'm fucked. And I cannot speak today, so I'm kind of fucked. Okay, now when we toggled the texture graph in the beta version, we are clicking restart. The whole editor will restart, right? Let me put it in here. And our whole editor restarted, and we can put a new level. I am just using like one of the projects that I created for previous stream when I was checking out the new template variants. I really recommend that, especially first-person shooter stuff. They did couple of cool things there, and the third-person combat arena. That was a really cool demo. I loved it. I cannot talk today for shit. Okay, so we turn that on. How do we actually look at this stuff, right? Let's create a new folder, call it texture graph R&D. You go right click in your content drawer or browser, whatever workflow you're using. You go to texture and then you see, texture graph. And let's create texture graph. How to call it? I don't know, exploration, because we'll be just messing around at the beginning. Before we actually will do something maybe somewhat usable and explore how we can use it as a poor man's version of a Substance Designer. Let's look at how it works. I did zero preparation for this stream, as always, because I go by the logic, as usual, that I want it to be real. So it's my first experience, the same way as everyone else who sits down to the plugin. I might turn on the documentation, I might turn on whatever else, some tutorial, and we will check if it really works, right? Because I am tired of any kind of materials online that they are showing you like in 5 seconds how to do something and it doesn't work, and you can see in the comments like a fuck ton of comments of questions like, hey, how did you make this work? You omitted this point and that point. Nah, none of this shit will be happening here. I am going at it as blindly as anyone else who sits down to it, clicks through things. I will face the same exact problems. So the learning curve shown here is being real, of course affected by my stupid brain, but you know what I'm saying, right? I think I turned on texture graph in like 5.2 when it was in the extreme experimental phase. I didn't really remember anything from it, but I remember that it was there, And I think my friend told me that, hey, it is in beta. And I was like, oh, beta. So it seems like it should be, you know, a good idea to explore that plugin. So let's look at this whole thing. What do we have here? Like we have window with regular stuff. We have tools. Okay, regular stuff. We can export all outputs not as texture U asset. Okay, so that's cool. We can actually work on it and then export it as a texture, right? Okay. Preview scene settings. We can turn on node preview and errors. I like having errors. And that's kind of it. You can work with nodes in here. You can right click and, as I can see, you know, find stuff that way. Or you can just go through this. We have a preview in here and node histogram, which I'm not really sure what it does right now, but whatever. We can change the shapes of the thing that we are working on. Okay, let's try to use something. Let's, I don't know, bring in some shape. And when we extend it, we see we have some options in here. It can be circle, segment. It can be rectangle. It can be triangle. It can be ellipse. It can be pentagon. It can be hexagon. It can be polygon when we define how many polygons are there. So for example, I can put in 16 and it will be 16, almost like a circle. Or it can be 5, 7, okay. I typed in 5, but it clamps to 7 because I guess you have pentagon in here, so. You can further change the params, you can turn on rounding. It looks more like a circle, but that's not what I want. We can bevel it. This preview, okay, this is that histogram. But this is a small S preview. I would love to have like a... That's what I want. That's exactly what I want. Rather than having a histogram in here, I'd rather have this node preview in here. So I can click on things and see it in a big scale, because I couldn't see this beveling for the life of me. So we can make a texture that is beveled like this. Nice. And I can just connect it to the output. And now I see this on my cube in here. Okay, alright. Sign distance function. We can use that. Nice. We can change the bevel curve in it to be sharp or the other way around. Okay, you can go wild with that, y'all. I immediately like the shape that I did. That's great. What else can I do here? Pattern. Let's play with pattern. Square, circle, checker, or gradient. Let's take in square. We can have placement, repeat. Oh, we can do shit like this. Okay, okay. We can change spacing. We can add some jittering in here. It doesn't seem to affect anything. I'm not sure really why. Oh, now, and now I can do this, size amount. Oh, I could spend a whole freaking day just playing around with those params, I'll be honest. Play around with the seed. Okay, some weird ass pattern that starts to remind me of like some prototype version of Klimt painting. If I could turn it into like golden stuff, then it could be great. I can change the angle of stuff. Nice. An angle seed. I can also bevel it. Now it looks Klimty. Shit. When I thought of this stream like on Friday, I wasn't thinking that I would be messing with Klimt like texture, but okay. Cut out. Oh, I can cut out some of this pattern. Gradient direction. Oh, great, I created some pattern. Let's hook it up here. It's very Klimty. Okay, now I want to give a color to it. How the hell could I can blur it. Okay, let's try blur. And big radius. Oh my god. Yeah, okay, I don't want to blur it. Huh. Okay, now brightness, color correction. Okay, but I just want to add some color to it. Here is a color, and I guess I need to multiply it. Multiply it, right? And I need to put this in here, and I will get all black everything. So I need to change the color to, I don't know, let's go into like this golden type of deal. And now we have, okay, it's not Klimt-like, but you know what I'm saying. If I can make it a little bit more golden. I'm not really sure how to make it more golden, right? It looks more brown poopy. Damn. Okay. And what if I also include like multiply here and then put it in here and put all of that in here? That's when I get this kind of stuff. Okay, but let me cut it out in circle. But let's reset all of the bevels, and everything got destroyed. And now we have a circle going like that. Okay. It's nice. I could play around with it for freaking days. So we get all the mathematics operation in here. We have inputs. We can put in boolean, color. We can put in material function. That's freaking awesome. So I could put in like, let's find some cool material function that already is in the Unreal Engine. Something that looks cool immediately. If we have even something like that in here. Fresnel, ISO Fresnel, yes. So we can have Fresnel in here. Ah, but it won't work because we don't have normals in here to put. But okay, we could probably multiply whatever we did here with the Fresnel in here. We won't see it here. Yeah, it won't work like that. But it's cool that we can use material and materials themselves. Holy cow! So I could just use that. Ah, but it works like this. So it renders material into a quad and makes it available. Okay. So not everything will work the way you think. Like, oh, you have desert outer HDR, it will just render it on this quad. So probably you need to make a material with usage, with the idea of using it in the material graph from the get-go, because most of the things probably won't be working in that domain. But it's still cool that we could have this, right? We have scalars, strings, texture settings, texture path. Wait, so it means we could load the texture like that? We can have just use some texture that already exists for it to work. Like for example this. And then multiply it. And we have this funny looking dude that renders super weirdly on this thing, because it looks differently in here in node preview and differently in the 3D preview. But we can use texture like that. That's great. And we, from what I can see, can use another texture graph. That gives a lot of possibilities. We have all the maps, we have channels where we can combine channels, split channels, swizzle. We have arrays of things, adjustment of colors, like going from RGB domain to HSV, hue saturation, and the third I forgot what the hell was this name. Histogram, we can scan the histogram for some reason and use that as an input. Color correction, levels, yeah, kinda Photoshopy parameters. We have all those procedurals. We have a gradient that is just gradient. Oh, I like that. I like that more than this. We got a Klimt looking thing. Transform, when we can transform stuff, change coverage, offset, pivot, rotation, repeats, stretching to fit, etc. We can transform our input in some way. We can use noise. Let's use some noise. Simplex, Worley. Let's use actually Perlin. I like Perlin noise. We have seed, we have amplitude of Perlin, which will only accentuate those black patterns, black lines. We can change the frequency of it to actually make it look more like TV noise or less like TV noise. We can increase the number of octaves, which I can show you how it affects the noise. Let me just change the frequency. Yeah. And 0 octaves looks like this. 1 octave looks like this. 6 octaves creates more of a definition around the edges if you look closely. If we decrease the frequency so we can see it in a higher detail, the frequency will mean in Perlin noise how much of those spots are in the picture, and if you have it up to the maximum, it looks like almost TV noise. With the small frequency, those spots basically will be big. And the octaves change the definition of things. Here it is like almost smooth, definition of edges. And here it is not so smooth. I wonder how many it will allow me to give. 10, okay. That one parameter I'm not sure, but it adds Yeah, it changes the way the details in those white cloudy thing from what we can see. I like that. Oh, it changes significantly things with the octaves. It kind of looks like it affects it kind of like a multiplier, but okay, I like it. Let's use once again multiply. Let's try to multiply this, and now we have kind of something nice actually. Yeah, let's play around with that noise for a hot second. God damn, I love playing around with this kind of node, editor nodes, both in PCG. Oh my god, what's the name of it? Dynamic mesh, that's how I call it, but it has a different actual name. Geometry tool. God damn, it took a long time to remember. Geometry tool that you can create with blueprints. Use to blueprints to create, your own tools that will create dynamic meshes, etc. I love this kind of stuff. I could be playing with this for days and days and days. It is awesome. So we have noise, shape we already saw. No, yeah, we saw shape and utilities. Make vector, resize texture. Oh yeah, that's one thing that I want to see. Like, what is the size of the texture that we're working with? When we are exporting, it exported it into output and the size of it is 1K. That's great. How about we have this color parameter, but I want to change the size of it. Actually, let's say I want to have it as a 4K texture. How the hell can I achieve it? Is there something in the edit? No. Asset? No. It's a regular asset window. No. Tools? No, not at all. Texture graph exporter. Here we have something. Export settings. We can change the compression. We can change LOD texture group, texture type, texture format. And here is when we can change the width, etc, etc. So let's export it as 4K. And diffuse or none, whatever. And file name, I don't know. Climty looking thing. And export. And did it work like that? No, it didn't work at all. We have 4K, but it doesn't look like that thing. So it didn't work as I expected. I'm not sure why. The preview shows me that, hey, this shit is not working. I cannot change parameters in that. Shit, I don't really know how to use that. I can see that what I have in here doesn't look like what I created. Yeah, I'm not sure how to export it as a 4K, I'll be honest. Because when I click here as an export, it just allows me to do that. Maybe I can change it in here. That's where I can change it. I can go like, first of all, can I rename it to, for example, flimty looking thing 2? Or I can, wait. I can I have multiple outputs? That would be awesome if I could have multiple outputs, create couple of textures that have parameters that affect all of them, and then export them in one go. Let me delete that thing. Force delete. Let's rename that to T-Climty looking thing. And and now I click, I can change, no, file name, I can also change it here, T-Climty looking thing. I can change width to like 4K and 4K. Then click export, and will it work? Yep, it did. I have actual 4K, of course, this is like a huge fucking texture that I wouldn't use unless I really need to. I can convert it to virtual texture, that's nice. But yeah, I can preview each channel. Freaking great! So let's test the theory, like for example, okay, I might have some parameters that are steering this thing, for example, right? Can I create like a parameter in here? No, I cannot do it like that. So how do I do it? Oh, I cannot just do it like that. So how do you do this? Input scalar? Or do I have to put in vector? That's how you do it, I guess. And if I put in scalar in here, these are singular scalars. So that's how you create parameters, huh? Okay. So, and it automatically takes X and Y components? Yep. So let's change this name of that thing to like, I don't know, 0.1 gradient, whatever. And let's duplicate that. 0.2 gradient. It will be 0.75, 0.75. And yeah, let's say I have these two parameters in here that are steering and creating this text output, right? And let's add another output. Can I have another output? I can. And I can name it T other thing. Have it as a 2K, for example, completely different size, right? File name T other thing, and it will be that. Let's multiply it via just color. Let's take some color. And can I freaking do anything in here? No. Yeah, let's have it as, I don't know, some pink looking thingy, I don't know. Whatever, let's multiply with that and connect to the other thing. Yeah, the thing is that the 3D preview only works for the original output unless you can select Oh, I can select it. And now it previews me the other output. Huh. That's nice. Yeah, and now I can click export and export both of those two things. That's freaking awesome. I can export two. Yeah, let me delete this output. I can have like textures that are being affected by the same parameters, and I can create the whole set of textures and export them with one click. And then adjust only a couple of parameters and export the whole sway of textures if I need it. That's super powerful workflow. I just fell in love with this. I'm still not sure if it actually is the poor man's version of Substance Designer, but that workflow, I like it. Dexterovsky is here. Hi, my dude. Hi, I'm late. Oh, no worries, man. No worries. I'm glad you're here. How are you doing? How are you doing? What are you doing? What kind of things right now are you working on with your project? Right now I'm looking into texture graph. I'm testing the idea that is it a poor man's version of Substance Designer? Exploring this thing because it would be cool to be able to work on textures like tiled, seamless tiled textures, etc. inside of the Unreal instead of like buying the whole fucking package for Substance, right? It would be awesome. It would be awesome. Yeah, so I will load like a basic Substance tutorial, how to create sand or something like this in a second. Maybe written one because that would be easier to follow on stream. And we'll try to recreate something that's supposed to work in Substance Designer, and we will see if it is possible. That's my mission for today. And how are you doing on this hot Sunday morning? I at least assume it's hot at your place. We have some settings in here. What is this? Ah, weighted, height, texture, format. Okay. Edge detect. We can warp stuff. We can blur stuff. But I don't want to blur things. I also wish I could just right click on it and be like, hey, I want to 3D preview this output. That would be a cool workflow change. But other than that, oh, I can preview how it will look as a emissive, how it will look as a metallic. Wait. I want to look at the Klimty looking thing. Why does my preview not update? Okay, let's turn into none. Okay, the preview got completely fucked. The preview got messed up. What do I have to do to make it work again? Everything is messed up right now. That's funny. Okay, what if I just turn that off and turn it on again? Have you tried turning it off and on again? Yep, it will fix it. And now the metallic is here. Although I kinda don't see it. But whatever. Dexterovsky says, I'm drinking coffee as usual. I took smoke break from the project, but I was trying to import different skeletal meshes for enemies. But I can't make them compatible with each other. I didn't know. Okay. I see. Are they super different, or are they supposed to be extremely similar and they suppose... And it seems like you could probably do it with control rig or something like this. I know that Epic and other companies use control rig in such situations where you have two meshes. They are really similar, but there are a couple of changes, so they're using control rig to translate some of the bones to other bones, and they are using control rig for that, if I remember correctly. I'm not an animation expert, but I remember the presentation from Epic about something like that, but it might be hard work. Dexterovsky says, I didn't know 5.6 has some Substance Designer stuff inside, lol. Yeah, I remember like in 5.2 I saw this as a super experimental feature and I clicked on it and it crashed after like 3 clicks or something and didn't pay that attention and too much, but I heard from a friend that, hey, this texture graph editor right now is in beta, so I was like, oh, okay. And I looked at it, my partner told me, hey, maybe you could, just try to recreate something in Substance Designer, and that's how I arrived at today's stream topic. Dexterovsky continues about the struggle with the skeletal meshes for enemies. They have the same bone setup, so they should be compatible. Engine says it is not compatible, but some animations are working nicely, but some of them are scaling the whole skeletal mesh. Oh yeah, animation stuff nightmare. Oh yeah. It just reminded me of a couple of work problems that I have both. I had both at the project that, I'm working at the day job right now and in the previous job. Yeah, it can be like this. Unfortunately, it can be like this. The exact same bone setup. I wonder what kind of change Unreal is detecting between those two setups. I wonder if you took those skeletal meshes, put them in Blender, and then try to play those animations with them, would it work then? Because maybe it is just Unreal problem. I'm not sure. And yeah, scaling the whole skeletal mesh. It must mean that the way they have been exported affects the root bone of the whole animation, right? There has to be a scale information, change of scale information for the root bone in the whole structure. I remember I had the exact same problem, and it was just an export error where for some reason scale changes from, instead of being on the one desired bone, they were on the root and the whole skeletal mesh was pulsing. It was fucked up. So I would probably look into that, try to preview just the root and see if it's scaling, because it might be an export problem. There are a lot of those in here. And by here I mean Unreal Engine, of course. What does string do? I can just type in string and then what happens? I have a string. Great, and can I multiply it with something? I don't know. No, I can't. So I don't know what the hell is this. Why would I need string in here when it is not an actual, visual string, right? I don't get it. Maybe I could use it as, as an input for a texture path or something? No. Maybe some debug functions? I don't know. Dexterovsky says, so you are saying it might be the scaling problem directly inside the model. Interesting. I will take a look into it. Yeah, at least I would try to take a peek at it, because I had struggles with that in the past, that the root bone was, affected. Dexterovsky says, but I also have the pulsing issue, but with the Unreal's animation and the skeletal mesh, so it shouldn't be a thing. You also have the pulsing issue. Okay, I get it. So Unreal's own animations are also, and skeletal meshes are also causing this. Damn, so that's fascinating. I would love to debug it. just to see what's the cause of it. If you will find out, please update me about this either on Discord or on the next stream, which way you see fit, because it seems fascinating. What could be the issues? Turning Cog, hey! How is it going? How is your Sunday going? Turning Cog says, how is this different than Material Editor? Or is this just like Substance Designer? It is just like Substance Designer. I'm testing the theory if it is a poor man's version of Substance Designer. Could you not buy Substance Designer and just use that? Probably that's an overstatement, because it's still in beta and probably it doesn't have all of the functions for that the Substance Designer has, but I just want to test it out, right? The one workflow thingy that I like here is that I could have lots of outputs, which means I could create a whole bunch of textures that are steered by the same parameters and have things in common, and export them in one batch. And when I need to change them, I can just change some parameters and export another bunch. That's freaking awesome. Instead of having like graph per texture and just copying stuff around, I can just have one graph that produces like 8 textures that I need. It seems neat for me. Turning Cog says it's going alright. Turning Cog says they basically replace Houdini with PCG, so I hope it's a substance replacement. I hope too. Like, I remember 6 years ago I was thinking that I want to learn Houdini, but the price kind of put me off. At that moment I just couldn't afford Houdini, and I was thinking like, man, it sucks. And if they create somewhat of a replacement inside of the Unreal Engine with PCG, texture graph editor, the geometry tool, right? Then we are starting to talk. Some simulation with Niagara, then we are starting to have like a real, almost Houdini-like package inside of Unreal, which I am a big fan of this approach, right? That you don't have to buy additional software to do it, to do all of that shit. You still have to for some of the things, but the more things are in the engine, in my opinion, the better. Dexterovsky says, I sent a video on Discord how the issue looks. Oh, let's take a peek. Let's also show it. We have a Discord for this stream, and maybe let me drop an invite link. I'm a bad streamer. I always forget to do this. Yeah, let me quickly drop a link. Invitation link to the Discord. And now let's take a peek at the pulsing issue from Dexterovsky. Ah, I see. The shoulders are pulsing. And these are, I guess, Lyra animations. And they are pulsing like this. That's freaking weird. Do you have some control rig applied on it, maybe? Or something like that? That's really weird. And it's for the shooting animation. Yeah, I would try to import this animation into Blender and try to see whether actually there is an application of scale to something inside of the whole bone structure hierarchy, right? You don't have control rig there. Dexterovsky says, no, I don't. Yeah, so I would try to import it to Blender or whatever, like program you want to use, and I would try to look at, the info for each bone, but it's on Unreal Animation, so it should work out of the get-go. Man, this is fascinating. Turning Cog says, the in-engine UV tools are not bad, but they are not to the point of replacing a traditional workflow. Yeah, that's true. I hope they will get to that point, because that would be awesome. I hope they will get to. I think out of all those packages, I think Geometry Tool and PCG has the highest chance of being used in day-to-day workflow without going to like Houdini. They have the highest chance of, you know, replacing, but other tools are not that there yet, I think. But it looks awesome that we have all this stuff. Nexterovsky says, okay, but you've directed me to the place where I can look for the issue. Thanks. No problem, my dude. And keep me updated about, you know, that issue, if you found the cause or the fix, because I'm always fascinated by some fixes. It reminds me of a funny anecdote back, I think, in the Techland days, way before I was working at Techland. I was talking to one of the programmers and we were chatting about weirdest bugs that had weirdest causes ever. And I remember him talking to me about the bug that, hey, if they were making some Expand Rally game or something like that, like some racing game, and the bug was that if you go into the settings and change the brightness and go back to the main menu, there was like a model of a car being presented. Suddenly a second model of a car will spawn and drop on the car. And I was like, what? Changing the brightness, the gamma, spawns another car? What the fuck is that, right? And he told me that he was flabbergasted as well, but when he actually looked into the code, it made sense that it spawned that because change of the brightness was hooked up to some delegate, and to the same delegate was being hooked up to another delegate, and that other delegate was being hooked up to spawning a new car when you start a race, which was working in main menu. So they have to, you know, fix up those delegates, and then it worked. But it's fucking crazy. You change the gamma settings and set it in your video game settings, and a car spawns. Okay, so as I said, my partner, who's an environmental artist, suggested that I should turn on simple substance designer tutorial about how to make sand or how to make the water crate. That's not how it's called in English, right? I don't know how it's called in English actually. The water drain. Yeah, the water drain, and maybe try to recreate it with those tools. Leksterovsky says, sounds like delegate hell. It was. It was. That's what happens. Yeah, that's what sometimes happens in video games. I just remembered another anecdote. It was from Bethesda, that when they were doing like a train in Fallout 3, they didn't actually create like a real simulation of train or train models. It was actually a dude with the train helmet on that was walking underground underneath the landscape, and only the head was popping out. That's how they made trains. That's kind of ingenious. When you have like, I don't know, a month to shipping and you don't have time to create like the whole railway system, yeah, let's just drop a character and give them a helmet that is just a model of a train, and let's make them go forward. An A pose, right? Via spline. Done. Feature done. Okay, let's try to find a substance designer sand tutorial. Maybe a written one. Is there like a written one? Please, written one. Written one would be awesome. Let's try to find something. Only video ones. That sucks. I mean, it makes sense And that one is a paid one. Yeah, it is a paint one. Let's try to find it here. Okay, I found the 9-minute one. We will try to recreate it. I didn't find a good written one, but we will try to recreate what they did in this. Turning Cock says, EDE from Fallout New Vegas was also a helmet with the invisible body. That's also smart as hell. That's a great usage of the tools that you have in hand. Great usage. Okay, so I found like a stylized sand substance designer tutorial. It's 9 minutes. We should supposed to get through it. That's how it looks at the end of the tutorial, I guess. Let's try to recreate that, shall we? And let's try to test the theory whether the texture graph editor is already a free alternative to Substance Designer, right? Let's change the quality of it. I don't know if I want to hear the audio of it, but you know, let's try it. Turning Cock says, is this just one plugin or a few plugins that work together for a texture graph? One plugin. One plugin. You just go to Engine, Plugins, Texture, Graph. Here you go. You have it. You turn it on, and that's the only thing you need to do. Then in Content Drawer, you go to Texture, and you have Texture Graph. You can also create instances of it. Kind of like with materials, right? And I'm not sure why would you use it that way, because at the end of the day, you're supposed to export it, right? And maybe use it in material if you need some actual, you know, dynamic material stuff, etc., etc. Dexterovsky says, but this tool seems like a very helpful thing for generating missing normal maps. Could be. Could be. It also could be used for gameplay purposes. When you want to create, for example, reticles, right? And you really want them to be like sci-fi accurate, very symmetrical, etc. You can calculate everything in here. It seems like you could do a lot of stuff with it. Also, when I was making PCG like biomes, I could create a map of where each biome is via that. That's also a cool thing, and then just load in the texture into the PCG and sample it, instead of creating all those calculations that I did of like, where is the northern hemisphere, where is the southern hemisphere. I could probably do it way easier in here and just export the node there. We got the first bot on Twitch. First bot. The bot counter turns to 1. First bot in here. Best viewers on blah 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 blah. Fuck you. Ban. Boom. Okay, done. Okay. Turning Cock. I'm just dressed like a bot. That's okay. Nothing wrong with being dressed like a bot. I'm just dressed like a bot. Yeah. For some time, I don't think I can have a stream without at least one bot showing. I cannot imagine how big time streamers, you know, their mods have to work overtime to stop this shit. And I guess with AI, they might even have a way harder job than they did, right? Okay, let's get back to this tutorial and try to decipher. Already I see an issue because he already has a polygon, he imported, etc. But fuck it, let's try to recreate this thing, right? He like imports the ready-made texture. That is something that I sometimes have a problem with some tutorials, that hey, here's 9-minute tutorials, but I have all these textures and things done in preparation for it that I won't be talking about, right? And it's like, why? Or they would just share the texture and it's like, okay, but I kind of want to make it. So let's try to make this thing inside of it. Okay, so let's create this, try to create this sand. Texture graph, stylized sand. This looks like a hexagon with some beveling and stuff. Let's try to do it. I need the shape. Yep. And the shape, I want it to be hexagon. Let's play with the, how is it oriented in there? It's kind of turned. Like 90 degrees, sorry, 90 degrees, right? Yep. Dexterowski says, yeah, sounds like any game engine tutorial. I downloaded a bunch of assets and some code implementations I will be working with. Yeah, exactly. I am annoyed as fuck at this, right? And for many reasons, but two main reasons is it mostly goes to promote the channel instead of actually spreading the knowledge, right? So the intention of education is not there, in my opinion. I judge such things harshly. And the other thing is it creates a false pretense, or I don't know even how to call it, but this false narration that, hey, this thing is simple. The guy did it in 5-minute tutorial. And then at every job that I had to communicate that no, the tutorial is 5 minutes, but I can guarantee you that the guy spent like a week or 2 weeks trying to develop all this shit and integrate all those downloaded already codes and assets, etc. It's not 5-minute job. And it's like, but he did it in 5 minutes, so should you? And I'm like, then you do it in 5 minutes, right? If it's that simple. Dexterowski says, no, promote the paid course, which will teach you all the possible bad practices. Yeah, that's also a problem. There are a couple of cool paid courses. I bought one for Blender, like during the pandemic. During the pandemic in 2020, I bought one for Blender, and that one I could recommend. It taught me Blender because Blender was black magic to me beforehand. I just couldn't get into it by clicking on my own. And I bought the Blender course and went through it, and I liked it. And then I went to the Blender Guru YouTube, and that's when I could actually understand the whole tutorials from him, right? But I also bought a couple of bad courses that I was like, oh no. It seems like a bad idea. But yeah, okay, enough shitting on the internet. That will probably shit on me, because that's what internet is for. So we could diss each other all the time. But it's looking like that. This texture should in some way be implementable. Let's just bevel it to the oblivion, kind of like he did. It kind of looks similar enough. I'm calling it done. And then what is he doing? Splatter. What the hell is splatter? It just creates like this whole repetition of things. Probably with audio would be easier, but let's play the Dark Souls in it. And then the pattern signs with it. Okay. Dexterowski says, can you share a link to that course? I'm trying to learn Blender in years, but I'm always like, fuck it, I will do this shit in SketchUp. Oh, I will have to go back to log in to goddamn, what's the name of this? Udemy? Yeah, I will share it with you, but I would do it on Discord after the stream if it's not a problem, because I think I might have a tough time to log into my Udemy again. But I will, you know, write it down in my to-do lists. There's only one caveat with that course. The guy is French and speaking English with French accent, so sometimes, at least I had a little bit of problem understanding, but then I got used to it and it was okay, right? Turning Cock says, there seems to be a ditter on the edge of the cube. Hexagon. Okay, okay. In the guy's example, right? Yeah. Maybe we can do it with this. I think that's the best I can do. Yeah, I don't think I have a ditter function. Nah. I think that's the best I can do. I guess. Whatever. He's using some node called splatter. I can bet anything that there's not such a thing called splatter in here. Yeah. So we need to find something that will just start repeating the pattern. I hope there is something like this in here, because if not, then we cannot do it. Array grid. I'm not sure if it is something that does that. What the fuck did you do? It just does something like that. That is weird. I'm not sure if I understand that. Concatenate arrays. I don't think it... Okay, it just combines 4 textures into one. Okay, so that's not exactly what I'm trying to have. Adjustment, inputs, maps. Maybe it will be somewhere in the map section here. It will be funny if it will turn out that the first step, yeah, we could kinda do. The second step we cannot do, therefore we cannot do sand in this. Or at least not via this tutorial, so I might find another one, try to find another one. It will be super funny, but I don't see anything here that... There's an if then else. Oh, okay. Output, make vector, material ID, resize texture, gradient, pattern. Yep, I don't think we have a node that would clone this texture and put it in the rows, etc, etc. That kind of sucks. Unless I can maybe... Checker. There's a checker pattern. Maybe I could somehow do it with that. But I'm not sure how I would do it. I'll be honest. Yeah, I would have to replace all of those checks on a checker with my texture. And I'm not really sure how I could achieve that. I could multiply this stuff, I could do lots of things, but I don't think I could be like, hey, take this square and replace it with that. Yeah, I think the second step of the tutorial and we already are fucked. There's something like transform. I think this is the thing that we could use for repetition, right? Performs translation, rotation, and repetition of the image. Okay, let's put it in here. For now we have this. Let's try to find mirror X. Mirror Y? No, it just mirrors it. Okay. Coverage, offset, pivot, stretch to fit, repeat. Is this the thing? Yes! Woo! We are still in the fight to prove that this shit is a poor man's version of Substance Designer. Yes! Hell yeah. Okay. How many times did he repeat it? Oh my fucking god. I don't see. Then he does like pattern signs with it, pattern signs hide, like he does something weird to it. But let's count it. Let's be idiots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, he did it 16 times. 16 times and 16 times. Great. We roughly have the same shit. And then he did. Pattern signs with it, he put it into the oblivion, and pattern signs hide, he didn't put it into oblivion, and he rotated. Do I have even something like this? I can rotate. This a little bit. Oh, but it will rotate everything, okay. And I think his didn't rotate everything, it rotated each. Yeah, each segment. And then he has something like this order, which. What the hell is this node? Guys, I start to see that it might be a tough fight, or I have to find other tutorial. Woo! Wrap mode. I don't think I can stretch it like that. I can have repeats, fill color, yeah, stagger horizontally. Doesn't matter. Stride. What the hell is stride? Okay, it's this kind of thingy. This is stretching. Okay, we're still in the game. So he stretched things into the oblivion and what? And blah blah blah. And with it. Okay, so he stretched things way the fuck out via that. I don't know, let's do 8. I cannot go for 8. That's great. I can go for 8. Let me just put it in here because it's annoying. I can go for 8 here, but I cannot stretch it in that department. That sucks. It transforms in range from 0 to 1, defaults to 1, 1. Oh yeah, because it doesn't stretch out each image, it... I guess I would have to like... Can I stretch it more? No. Can I zoom? No. I guess I would have to affect this thing. Like stretch out the shape first and then put it in transform to repeat it. It's not that simple. Okay, how could I stretch this shit out? Those are not the transformations I would do. It's visual warp, arrow, dilate, blur. I don't think I can do this in here. Unless I can just take it and... Let's see, because I think there was resize texture, right? Let's put it in here. And... yeah, width it was 1K, but let's stretch it to like... it's doing shit like this. It doesn't maintain the... Oh no, I can actually stretch it. But that's weird. to stretch it out like that. And then what? I put it in here and the whole, no, it cannot be done like with the resizing of the texture. Too bad that I can stretch it in that way, but wait, what if I just rotate it? It still looks bad, but and let's increase the amount of repeats. I don't know, 64 by 64. And what did he do? But the way it actually applies the transformation of the pattern size, it makes it a little bit different. Debug only option. Okay, yeah, I don't think I can do it. So yeah, the second step of it already, we're fucked. That sucks. Okay, so that one didn't work out. Let's try to find another one, shall we? There's 48-second one. Do you want to bet that there will be a lot of skipping through logic in here? Let's look at it. "48 seconds how to do a..." How about we start from the beginning? Available for purchase on Gumroad. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Fuck it. Let's try another one. This one is 28 minutes. Maybe this time the guy... Oh, he has a cat. I like the cat. I like the skull. There's another 28 minutes. The guy is looking cool. Let's try that. Will we be starting from scratch? Kinda. Oh, what the fuck is going on? A lot of noise transformations. And there's already like a normal map applied to it. Alright. Okay, and what? This 5 minutes? Will it start? Will anyone start at the beginning? That's something that I would love to see. Okay, so we should use anisotropic noise. I wonder if it is inside of the... the thing. Non-uniform directional warp. I think the guy explains it quite nicely, but I want to see it from the start. Okay, so anisotropic noise. Let's try that. That one, no. Noise. From the get-go we don't have this, but maybe we can work with this, I don't know. Worley won't cut it because it looks like that. Though maybe we could, you know, make like a completely dried out ground texture out of this. I don't know. Perfect placement of a song once again. Oh nie, znowu jestem w dupie. Okay, fuck it. Amplitude. Frequency. It doesn't look sandy at all. Or maybe a little bit. Okay, and what? Should we also apply like a blur to it and we're done? And now mix it with the color of a sand. It should actually be a gradient, not one color, but whatever. I think we might be building sand from the ground up because those tutorials are not applicable. And now we also have a black color that we are supposed to change into something else. He creates a noise, then adds another noise to it, and then do the slope blur. Okay, we applied the blur. I'd love to see something more. Alright. Okay, I need a quick break. I'll be back in like... in like 2 or 3 minutes, so... So I'll be back. I need a quick break. See you soon. Alright, I am back from my quick break, and I was thinking, I don't think going through Substance Designer tutorials will yield any results. Because the node coverage here is just not there, right? If we look at what I pulled up in here, most of those transformation nodes we don't really have, right? We have Perlin noise, that one we have. So I think the idea of, hey, let's take a tutorial and just use it, kinda died. At least it looks like it. But I was thinking that, yeah, of course, the theory that, hey, texture graph editor is a free version of Substance Designer, we pretty much proved that it isn't there yet, right? Or at least you would have to write some custom node or create lots of nodes that would do what a singular Substance Designer node is doing, right? But we could, for example, try to create like a grass texture and see how hard it is, like from the get-go, to create like a single blade inside of this texture graph editor, a couple of variation of it, try to repeat it, try to do something like that, right? Or maybe get back to the sand. I'm not sure which way to go. Maybe let's not close it. Just looking at this texture gives me idea how I could maybe do it. Combining a couple of noises. Which way to go? Sand or texture? Sand or grass texture, I'm sorry. Let's try with sand and then I will try to do the grass texture with it. Let's see if we can do like those artistic things, because I can see how I would use texture graph for the gameplay purposes. For like PCG to create quick textures and use it for sampling, right? But I want to see this artistic thing. So let's keep that image in here and try to go for that. I won't probably not go as far as here, but we'll see. Okay, so maybe for now let's delete all of this and look at it. Look at the example. We have those harsh lines, right? So we need to create those and lots of noise in between. So let's maybe firstly craft the noise and the color of the texture so it will be gradienty, more gradienty, not uniform, etc, etc. Let's try to go for that, and then let's try to add those hard edges, right? Yep. And I guess we would have to name those things like diffuse, P, sand, D, and let's name it diffuse. Yeah, they should also provide like a template, like, hey, you want to create like a basic texture set, here's diffuse, here's template, here's emissive, etc. So you can just click on it and boom, it just shows up, right? Because right now I have to go like here and provide normal. I could also provide metallic, etc, etc, but let's name it like that, right? And let's have them all as 1K, shall we? We don't need 4K right now. Alright. So let's start with the noise. And let's cry. Let's try to. Let's cry. Yeah, let's cry. Create this super noisy, sandy, like small freaking thingies. I think it might be the best to use Perlin. They don't have a lot of noises here, don't they? I'm not sure if the amplitude is what I want to increase, but at least for now. I wanna see it. I can't do anything more than this. Let's get cap. Okay, that kinda sucks. Now we're getting somewhere, and now I want to decrease the amplitude of it. We have something going on. Now let's create gradients, some not sure if that's the way. And okay, so what I'm thinking about is that I need to make the white dots show up as some kind of gradient from orange to bright yellow. That's kind of what I want to achieve in here. So let's see if I'll be able to do it. Because we have this gradient, and that's... Can I put in color in here already? Nope. So I have to multiply it, right? Okay, let's try to multiply it. The color in here will be like this sandy yellow. This is our color. And if we also multiply it with that, what will we get? Not exactly what we want, right? Let's put it to plain. Not exactly what we want. Because I want to have multiple colors in here, actually. I wonder how could I achieve... multiple colors in here. Let me try something. And this will be like this kind of yellow. And this I want to be more on the orangey side. Or maybe more like this, right? And I want to mix them in a completely random fashion in here. So multiplication is not really the way to do it. But let's try something like this. And then the noise. Let's add noise everywhere because each one of those is a way. Now, how to nicely combine it? Just adding the inputs will yield completely fucked up results. Or maybe not, because we are working with the gradient, but it looks way too uniform. So I probably should transform it. Yeah, I'm kind of freestyling as we go, as you say. If you have some, notes or input on that, I will welcome everything. For sure, I want to rotate it like, I don't know, 65 degrees. So it will be a little bit different. Can I repeat it? In what way it will... Oh! We're starting to get somewhere. That's interesting. We are getting somewhere, my friends. And if I could distort it right now, and I can with the help of erosion. Let's see how that will work. It's way too much. No, erosion is not the way. Let's see what warp will introduce. That is interesting. This is an extreme case. But what if I blur it right now? Yeah, it can be Gaussian. And now let's add that to the mix. Those two. We are getting somewhere. I'm not sure what this place is. It might be a shitty sand texture, but we are getting something. For example, I probably should make this color a little bit more darker. Yeah, and let's use that on the diffuse, because I want to see the final result. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, but let's add in the third color. Let's put it to transformation as well. Offset rotation. Yeah, let's rotate it like, I don't know, 32 degrees. And or we can zoom. We can zoom out. No, I want to zoom in. What the fuck? Let's repeat it like 9 times in here, 4 times in here. Maybe I should not rotate this. But how about I just warp it? But instead of like, okay, I can just use sine and try to play with phases once again. Make it a little bit less dramatic, less intense of a transformation. I kinda like it. And let's blur it once again. I wonder what that does. I forgot to tell you, your audio level is very low. I must have my headphones at 75% volume. Earlier wasn't like this. Oh, thank you for the information. I wonder what messed up. Because I didn't change my audio setup at all, but thank you. I will try to increase it right now. And tell me right now if it is better or it is too loud. How does it sound right now? Am I way too loud or I increased it in the OBS? I hope it is a little bit better right now. Okay, what does Swizzle do? Ah, changes the channels around. Yeah, okay. So we can use green as green, etc, etc. Okay. Perfect. Turn down my headphones to 50%, so it is better. Okay. Should I keep it like this or increase it a little bit? Because I still have some room to spare on my amplifier. But if it is alright, then I'll keep it. But yeah, Swizzle is not for that. Let's add the third layer in here. It looks like shit. It looks very bad. Dexterowski says, I think it is okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, but you can play around with like sand to do something. It's just you cannot follow the Substance Designer tutorial from what I can see. What else I could do? How about lerping those two together, for example, instead of adding it? Kinda looks the same. Cube of a number. Cubic root of a number, okay. Maybe we could just blend it together. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not what I wanted. That is a little bit better. Oh yeah, and I can just... Yeah, blending is way better than adding. I should have known this. Actually. Okay, I can delete that. Yeah, we are not using any mask for blending. Nor alpha, bump. Yeah, we can leave that the way it is. So let's put it at half. And then blend this with other third layer of noise. Let's put it as half. It is a little dark, I'll be honest. But at least it doesn't look as shitty as it was looking before. Now, of course, it is nowhere near that quality. I am not sure how to get to that point, but at least we can see that, yeah, we can play around with those noises. Oh, reroutes don't work in this editor. That kinda sucks. I cannot... Yeah, no reroutes in here. Okay. We will manage without reroutes. We will manage just fine. Have you guys ever played with Substance Designer? Because I never. So it's like figuring out how to do those textures. Oh, I want to reroute here so badly. For the first time and not in a regular way. So, as I said, I'm just being real. Yeah, I probably also chose bad colors for that. Okay, but now let's try to find this definition of those sand dunes edges. I do not know yet how to make it so on the other side of the edge you will have a darker shade, so it looks like the sun goes from the upper left corner. Dexterovsky says, yeah, I was trying to do something in it. And how was the experience? Was it like easy to follow the tutorials and create something on your own, or is it as hard as the Blender? Or what was your experience like? Which reminds me, let me see, texture, graph, editor, Unreal Engine. Do they have any documentation for that? They only have some getting started with texture graph, and that's it. Some UI, description of node palettes, node preview, details, 3D. Okay, the things that in the documentation, they are showing things that we already figured out. And they have some example, but the example ends with just a simple checker pattern with arrows pointing upwards in it. Let me show you. This is the example that Epic provides, which is, yeah, cool, but not exactly super exciting. Let me show you this again because I just realized that I went through it way too quick. Where is it? Yeah, something like this. Not that exciting, and what do they show in here? Is it the same shit? Yeah, it's the same shit, the overview of it. Okay, so Epic doesn't have like a too much of opening act on their own. The guy creates like a window in it. Yeah, the window seems simple, but I wanted more of a natural environment type of thing. Dexterovsky says, better than Blender, I think. Okay, okay. It says something. Okay, okay. So, yeah, let's try. They don't have like an awesome tutorial to show how to make these things on our own, so we will still struggle on our own. Let's try to make those edge definitions, shall we? And we will try to put them as normal. So yeah, base color is diffusing, normal is normal, which we don't have right now. But we'll try to create this definition of it, right? So it will look like it is rising, etc, etc. We could also be playing with the roughness and specular, but that may be for later. Let's create this definition of hard edges via noise, shall we? Noise. It's supposed to be more wavy like, which means Worleys won't cut it. Although I still think you could create with Worley that looks like this a nice texture of super dried out ground, right? Like in some steppe or something like this. Yeah, Perlin once again or Simplex, I'm not sure. This might not be the thing that we want, actually. To create those definitions. With Perlin as well. Yeah, so we need to create those definitions a little bit, this hard edge definition a little bit differently. So we probably will take a pattern and try to turn it into swirly lines or whatever, right? Wait, in pattern there's also a gradient? Okay, whatever. Let's try to take the square pattern and let's play around with it. There's a jitter. Let's see what we can do in here. It's not the brightness that I want. Although I would love to invert the colors, but I can do it with the mathematics operations. I can just go like this, and now we have, you know, inverted white lines, which is exactly what I want. But now let's apply some let's try to make it all swirly and etc. We don't want a jitter in size and tilt, maybe. Tilt only does something like this, okay. It seems like I cannot affect the line like that. Angle. Angle probably works with the tilt, right? Let's do that. Yeah. Angle changes the angle of the gradient inside of a checker. Bevel, of course, creates bevels, as we can expect. It is kind of fucking funny to me that right out of the get-go, it is easier to create Klimt-like pattern, which is an amazing artist, than it is to create like a sand. As a first timer, right? Trying to do this. It is amazing. Okay. That's for the jitter, and then cutoff threshold. It cuts out the cells in it. Okay, so I guess instead of that, I have to go for like one singular line in the middle of it. I just want to create one line in the middle. Can I make it so? Whoa, 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 whoa. I fucked up. Okay, okay. Let's get... What's going on? Ah, yeah. I wanted this. Ah. Okay, let's get back to this. That is interesting. That is hella interesting. That you could do this. Okay. But I'm wondering, can I actually just create a line? No, I don't think I have a line shape. Or unless I can just go for... Oh, there is a segment one. I'm a dumbass. I was trying to create a line out of checker pattern. Instead of just doing going for the node with the shape. Don't be like me. Now we have this, and I can... Why cannot it be? Why? Okay, so I should just go for rectangle. Yeah, so I should just go for rectangle instead of operating on a segment. Okay. I want to make this like central line out of it. Yeah. So I have this. Let's make it a bit thinner. Okay, now I should warp it, right? To create a swirly line out of this. Via sine, yeah, exactly. Change the intensity of it. Come on, man. I wish I could have more inputs here just than sine, because I would love to change the frequency of this, right? Because I can only change the phase of it one way or the other, but I cannot change the frequency of the sine, which kinda sucks, but okay. We will work with those limitations. I don't see a difference between 1 and a 0, I'll be honest. But let me just change the width to like 0.03. So this will be a little bit more line like this. I can also detect edges. I can do that. Wow. I can detect edges out of this. And only have this kind of line. Okay. That's nice. What if I wanted even more thinner? That creates this kind of line. Okay. Now, what I want to do with it, not blur it, because I need this hard edge, I think, or at least for now. What can I do with erosion for this image? There's something like this, that the lines are getting a little thinner. I like this. I like this. Let me keep that. Although no, it doesn't really make sense when we look at our... Maybe it does. We'll see. We'll see the end result of it. What else I could do to it? Transform and repeat this couple of times, but I'm not sure. Offset pivot, yeah, like let's repeat it like 5 times here, or maybe 3 times, maybe 2 times, and 2 times. And that way, it doesn't look that great. Let's put it in 45 degrees rotation. It sucks that I cannot, or at least I don't know how, change the goddamn frequency of the sign used here and the warp. I would love to, but I don't see how. Could I zoom in on it a little bit more? No, I can't. Actually, I can. Wow, I didn't know I can. Actually, that's interesting. But it's still kinda not that. I'm having a sine waves in here, right? Which I will put right now to normal. And it won't look that great. It will be just weird as shit like that. Do I have any normal from height map? Yeah, I should actually just do that. So it will create a normal and treat that thing as a height map. But it doesn't look that great. It doesn't look like this cool ass noise with those hard edges, so we need to think a little bit differently about this. But I don't have too much noise types, that's the problem. In here. Yeah. Yeah, I won't be able to get those edges out of this. Nah, not from this type of noise. I could maybe take the Worley. Let's get back to the regular Worley and do something with that. But, though this pattern of Worley noise is a little bit too geometric. Those lines are too straight. Okay, let's look at the shape noise. Could I do anything with that? I don't think so. It just requires a different type of noise. that I don't have it here. God damn. So no wonder they don't provide the example of how to create that. Like you don't, yeah, you don't see it like that. What about if we turn off this? Then it's just that. And 2 repetitions, and even if we add 10 and 10 of it, it just won't show up because I cannot change the frequency of the sine wave. And I don't have a noise type that would actually give me what I want. We can just use it as a geometric type of thing, right? I wonder if the edge node will detect edges in here. A little bit. But just a little bit. That would be better. Actually, I could just take this and invert it. Invert the image. Oh no, it actually looks worse. God damn it. Yeah, it looks like it would be nice to add a couple of more types of noises in here so we could choose it from. Such expanded list. Let's detect those edges once again. I think we can also put it to power. Yeah, we can actually go like this. Yeah, and now we can invert it because the power node, which calculates, you know, puts every single pixel into the power equation. So it will accentuate, how to say it? Yeah, the edges will get sharper, right? So when we have all those gradients in here, every single value in here will get put to the power of 2. So it will create this image, which will create something like that, which is way better, as I said, for the dry goddamn ground instead of sand on desert. Yeah, let's actually delete all of this and let's use that as a normal from height map and let's see how it looks. It looks way better as this, as I said, as this dried out ground, but it would require completely different. It shouldn't be this type of noise. It should be more of, I'm not even sure, like a gradient with a little bit of noise or something. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to create a dune in here, like a sand dune. I'm lacking both experience and some of the functions in here that they are showing off with the Substance Designer. But let's try to create the... at least something a little bit looking artisty. With the... wait, let's take this color of 4. Let's put it to the power of 4. How this will look like then? It would look like shit. Yeah, the default exponent is the best. Okay, so let's delete all of that stuff and let's find a good image of dry desert ground. I'm not sure if it will... oh yeah, that's the thing I was thinking about, right? With this kind of noise, it is way easier to get, with what we have here, to get to this rather than to actual sand dune. Sand dune. I cannot speak for shit today. So let's try to make something more similar to that. Of course, we won't get to that realistic type of thing. We will create more stylized version, but at least we are able to create anything, right? So all of that shit, bye bye. Bye bye. Let's try to make it. There should be even more. I think the frequency should be higher. Something like that. Yeah. I won't be able to make those lines be wobbly like that. I don't think I would be able to. Maybe. Yep. That's what I thought. Maybe. Nah, not really. Yeah, smooth step won't do anything as well. Not for this. We can of course try to use that, but no. No. None of the mathematics will bring me there. Unless maybe. Nah, not really. Okay, so we have those edges in here. Should I use this? Maybe I should use this instead of inverted. And I should create this kind of color that is gradienty with some noise. So let's create gradient first. Which one should I use? Yeah, let's use radial. We should probably like repeat it and make the, you know, repeats overlap each other or something like that. So let's increase the radius of it. Let's maybe put that not in the center. And let's try, unless, wait a second. Do I have like the circle pattern? Yeah, that's what I really actually want. With the bevel. The bevel doesn't work on that. Great. Brightness amount. But I would love to increase the circle. That's what I would love to have here. The circle radius, so I could make them so big that they are overlapping each other, and then add everything else. Because right now I don't really have that. Which kind of sucks. I wonder if I would use transform, and I would just repeat things like, I don't know, 10 times here, 10 times here. Put it into 0.5. And put the zoom into like 200. They are still not overlapping. What I could do here? No, I don't want to see debug grid. What if I increase the radius so it is way bigger? It still has those edges. That's not what I want. I want to have circles that are overlapping each other. Why is it so hard to do here? It seems like no-brainer. Okay, fuck it. We might just do something like this, that I will just take like 3 circles, all of them the same radius, but they'll be just moved slightly, and just blend them together. Yeah, one would be like this, and minus 0.3, maybe minus 0.1. And that one will be middle, that one will be 0.3. Or maybe minus, no, 0.6, I don't know. Or something like this, and a little bit to the right. So it should be like here, right? And now I should just blend all of these, right? What the fuck happened? Ah, yeah. Blending should be put into 0.5. And another blend. Oh my god, I kinda hate this. Yeah, and I kinda wanted to do it with multiple circles. So the way I see it, if you would really want to use that for these kind of purposes, either you're writing your own nodes so they would perform similarly to Substance Designer, or you are creating texture graphs that are performing complex operations with some the parameters, you know, to play with, and then you use those textures graphs in here as kind of a functions, texture functions, right? Because right now I'm kind of pissed off that I cannot just do this simple, hey, let's create a circle, now let's create a pattern of those circles, gradient circles, and stretch them out so they are overlapping each other. Let's introduce the offset, etc. Instead, I feel like I should just, via those blends and combination of circles, I should create a sub texture graph and use it as a function. But I don't like this workflow. So I'm ending up with something like this, which looks weird because I would love to have like 6 circles overlapping or whatever, but that's what I'm dealing with in here. And right now I should just multiply it with a gradient of color. Where the hell is the color? I lost color. Yeah, the color is here. Let's put it as a diffuse. And the color will be more sandy. Doesn't look that great. But we have some starting point that I could maybe try to start working with it a little bit more. Noise. Yeah, whatever. Let's multiply this and use it as a mask a little bit. Oh my god, it looks so bad. It looks so freaking bad. What if I instead use blending? How this would look like? A tad bit better. No. Not that better. Yeah, maybe I could use the same color and multiply it. But I'll be honest, it is fun to, like, you know, play around with that shit. But still, it doesn't look great at all. Okay, but the one thing I also wanted to use is I wanted to accentuate by the color those divisions. How can I do it? Yeah, actually I can do it like this. I know. I will just use that, multiply it by super dark orange. That's not super dark orange. That is like, oh yeah. Cannot even see this. Yeah, and blend this with blend. Oh my god, it looks completely bad. Oh my god. Even darker. Yeah, we're super close. Let's change it from this color to more like, once again, orangey. And this one also into orangey territory. And it still looks super bad. I would have to play around way more with the noise. So let's do that. Let's play around more with the noise, shall we? Let's increase the amplitude. That's not what I want. And maybe let's change it to actual Perlin noise. Let's increase the number of octaves. It still looks like shit. Oh my god. Still looks super bad. Yeah, but iterating something like this, actually, I think you could go into a stylized version of that. In some way, shape, or form. But yeah, texture graph editor is not a replacement for Substance Designer. At least for now. I'm sorry. Or, there is another possibility, I just suck at making textures. Excuse me for a second. I have an important phone call. Alright, sorry for that. Okay. I could just sit here and iterate on that, or maybe try to follow some tutorial, but I kinda also wanna see... I was thinking about how would the start of making the grass texture would look like. Have you guys ever worked on grass texture, like from the get-go, not using any image as a start? I sure didn't, so let's try to do it. I think I want to come back to this texture graph shit. I want to ask my artist friends, like, okay, like, how should I go about it, what should I use, etc. And use that knowledge, and also convey this knowledge to you. Yeah. If I could invite any of my artist friends over to, like, guest feature here, that would be awesome. But I'm not sure if it would be able to, if it could happen. Okay, TG grass. Like, the way I would do grass, and the way I vaguely remember from previous work how someone did grass, was like, hey, let's create like a 6 or 7 shapes of blade with the wiggly line, and I just realized that making this wiggly line will be next to impossible in here. Yeah, so the the grass texture will also be ass here. There's not enough nodes to operate like that, to create those environment textures. It is way too geometrical, or at least I don't know how to use that in that way. I don't know how to make a nice swirly line in here. Dexterovsky says, okay, I fixed the skeletal mesh scaling problem, but it is still deforming because of wrong bone positions, rotations on a new skeletal mesh after retargeting. The issue was wrong scaling in Blender, as you said. I'm happy that, you know, you found the cause of it. I'm really happy. It is deforming because of wrong bone positions and rotations on a new skeletal mesh after retargeting. So yeah, retargeting fucked things up. But the original issue of mesh scaling was in the original file in Blender. That's what you needed to clear. What you need to clear. I'm so glad we at least got the answer to that, because I know that it would be one of those issues that I would randomly wake up in the 3 a.m. in the morning and be like, huh, what could be causing this? So thank you for sharing, man. Thank you for sharing. Okay, let's try once again. Let's create this rectangle, or maybe triangle this time. Can I stretch it out? No. I can do a little bit of rounding. I can do that, but I cannot. I can bevel it, which is nice. But no. How about ellipse? Maybe I could just take the ellipse and change the width of it to be like this. I know it doesn't look like a... it actually kind of looks like a messed up blade of grass. I'm glad that you found the cause for it, Dexterovsky. Really glad for that. Turning Cog asks, did you find any real hard limitation to this that can be solved with a few updated functions? So far, I'll be honest, no. Couple of few updated functions, couple of more nodes in here, and we will be able to achieve some of the things that they were showing off in the Substance Designer tutorials. So what I would say, what is missing the most is the palette of functions in here, right? Other than that, I'll be honest, I didn't find any real hard limitations. You can create like all those outputs for like albedo or diffuse and normal and roughness and specular, etc., and export them all at once as a texture. So apart from missing things in the palette of functions, not really. This is my only limitation right now, and of course my own lack of experience, right? But that's on me, not on anyone else. Turning Cock says, to be fair, designer had a big head start. Yeah, of course. I mean, still, if you want to do some super geometrical textures, like for example the one I did here, and go from there, create like something more akin to, I don't know, industrial design, something more geometrical, city-like, then yeah, I think you can achieve those things in here, right? For the more natural environment looking thing, it seems like it's harder because of, you know, either things lacking in the palette of functions or my own inexperience combined with it, because maybe an experienced environment artist might look at it and be like, okay, these are not exactly the same nodes, but I still know how to, you know, go about it, work around those issues, right? And yes, designer had a big head start. This is just a beta of this. I'm sure that they will be adding more and more things to it. Also, this gives a nice way of people creating probably function libraries for, I wanted to say marketplace, but it's not called that anymore, for fab, right? So they could make money off of, hey, actually I recreated like those 6 nodes from Substance Designer, right? And put them on fab to be sold, right? And then we could buy them and use them in here, right? So yeah, no real hard limitations, at least for now, that I found with it. You can really do most of the operations in here. It exports textures nicely. You can work with alpha. You can try, you know, go into the HSV domain if you need. Yeah, it seems like it. I would for sure find usages for gameplay purposes. to create textures to sample from, etc, etc. But for more natural looking thingies, yeah, you either need to have more experience or more functions are needed. Yeah, you can also use material IDs in here, which will, as the description says, extract colors from the texture and create a mask with selected colors, right? So that's also nice. If you provide material ID map, of course. You could create probably one with the texture graph. Turning Cock says, can you use the texture graph in the material editor to fill in the gaps of both, or do we need to export the result first? That's a good question. Can I just... Let me try that. Material, text graph, R&D. Now texture graph. Let me just, yeah, like we have texture sample in here. Can I provide the texture graph in here? What's the name of my texture graph? For example, that one. Can I just use that one? No. Yeah, I think you need to export first. Scene texture. Yeah. Yep, it looks like you need to export it first. Turning Cock says, cool, thanks for showing this off, friend. Glad to be of service. Real glad to be of service. Dexterovsky says, oh my fucking god, I think I got it. Sure, man. Give it to us. But, Turning Cock, you can use materials and material functions inside of the texture graph. So you can go that way. Maybe they will add using the texture graph and materials in the future. But you can use material and material functions in here. So that seems like a cool idea, right? If you have already like some material functions, I don't know, that for example, create an ice function or frozen function or whatever, how would you call it, right? And you don't want to recreate it in here as other nodes. So you would use just that material function to provide a frozen look, right? That seems cool, right? Yeah, and I just selected some random free color blend material function, and then you can play around with the params, etc., and maybe get some outputs like emissive colors and shit like that. Alright, so we have kind of like a blade of grass thing, but I would love to transform it in some ways. Not blur, not edge detector, anything like this. That's not what I want. Not erosion, not combining. Yeah, that's kind of what is missing. Like, we have transform node, but for the procedural transformation of the image, but it seems like some more would be needed, because right now I would love to like make, like, curve it in a specific way. And from what I saw on YouTube, In Substance Designer, that's not a problem to do it like that. Maybe, but in here, it is a little bit harder. But maybe they will add some more stuff to it, right? I'm still glad that it exists. Because, for example, even for prototypes, if I need something, I can quickly bang out something in here and put it in a game, and then the actual artist, you know, will be able to use Substance Designer, look at this thing and be like, okay, so that's what you wanted to achieve, okay. Now let me make a real version of what you did. So for example, to speed up prototyping, amazing. And also cost saving, because maybe you could create a prototype just using that, and then secure funding or your own money, pay the artist to actually do something with it, with the Substance Designer, etc., right? So it will save up some money for you, maybe. Lots of potential uses, in my opinion. Okay, so right now, for example, I want to move it, like a creative version of this shape, where it's cut off in the bottom part of it, right? Can I do it in here? No. I can change the orientation a little bit, so that's great, but yeah, also I would love to have like more of a control over the repeats, so I could have more like some randomized version of repeats, or use the noise to create like points of repeating, etc., etc. But you know, that's for the future. Turing Cock says, this should save a lot of the commutation of my materials, because I do a lot of this kind of stuff in the material editor, making it very computation of my materials, because I do a lot of this kind of stuff in the material editor, making it very spendy on performance. Yeah, I was thinking about that we usually do some of this stuff in the material, which increases the cost of computation, as Turing Cock says. And doing that and exporting it as a texture might save a lot of time, right, on the computation, especially if you have lots of complicated materials. And if you need to change something, boom, you have parameters, you change the parameters, click export, all those textures are automatically re-exported, and your materials get updated, right? So it's not even a big of a hassle with this exporting feature, right? And you could also probably bang out a tool that will customly do the exportation with the change of specific parameters, you know, on your own, if you need it. Okay, let's try to put the offset to y, I guess, minus 0.5. That's not what I want. That's absolutely not what I want. Do I need to increase the zoom to get what I want? No, that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. God damn it. Okay, what if I just change the pivot? Pivot to 0. Absolutely nothing happens. Because I'm okay, I'm changing the pivot, and now the offset will work in a little bit different way. No, it still works the same. I don't fucking get it. At least. Will I get the node preview? I am trying to cut off the bottom part of this shape, so it will leave the upper part completely black. Kind of like if I would just take this thing and move it downwards, but it doesn't seem like I could just do it. So yeah, it kind of freaking sucks. One thing that comes to my mind is maybe I could blend two shapes together to create the shapes that I really, really need. Dexterovsky says, you can see my freaking banana NPC on Discord. I changed the retargeting type on bones to animation relative. Oh, let me see that. Let me show it to y'all. This is what we've been talking about. Nice. So, okay, so changing the retargeting type fixed your stuff, right? Or is the banana an accident and it retargeted a normal human being into banana? If so, then it is so fucking funny. And model is not deformed. Okay. Congrats, man. Congrats. Peanut butter jelly time, Turning Cock says. Yep. Congrats, man, that you solved the issue. So the issue was that the retargeting type was being set on bones to animation relative, and now it works out. That's great. Dexterovsky, yeah, but mainly your solution with scaling in Blender helped to figure it out. I'm glad. I'm so glad that it did help you out. Dexterovsky says, so thanks once again. Glad to be of service. Glad to help. Glad I was able to provide some help, because right now I'm kind of struggling with that. So I don't feel too good about myself. So I'm glad that I was able to help you out. Dexterovsky says, and I am shocked that Unreal almost properly generated physics asset for this freaking banana. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice. Actually, I'm shocked too, because I remember a day job. We generated some physics assets for one specific character, and whoa boy. An artist had to go in and basically do it by hand. But it wasn't a human being, so maybe that's why. Or maybe there was some other issue. Okay, once again, let's try to combine two patterns. Not patterns. What the fuck am I talking about? Two shapes to create this shape. If I don't have the transformation to pull things down, maybe let's just freaking blend two shapes together. So let's take rectangle. But it will be... Am I able to do it? Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. No, 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 no. Okay, and now I want to move that down, and I don't have ability to push things down a little bit. What in the holy mother of fuck? Dexterovsky says, yeah, I have my Tomb Raider 2 Lara Croft imported, and it cannot generate properly PA for her. Physics assets for her. I think I know why. Yep. And then you have to do it by hand. Okay, can I transform this a little bit, and then first of all, let's see how the blend of those two shapes will work even. That's fucking funny. That's completely not what I wanted, but yeah, I forgot to do the bevel. Still looks like ass. Will it look better if we would be adding this shit? Probably. Yeah, maybe, but then no bevel in here. Still, I would love to just push my rectangle to have the setting in here so I could push it a little bit down. Okay, so this would require an update to function. Because what else I could do, really? I'm struggling with creating a single blade of grass, and I have to end the stream in 25 minutes. So for sure, I would love to explore the texture graph a little bit further. Not sure if on the next stream or maybe when they will update it a little bit. I have to decide on that, because it sure would be lovely to create something functional with this texture graph editor, but more on the natural environment side of things. But maybe, you know, I will just do another stream when I will just try to do more like an industrial thing, and yeah. Okay, I really want to offset it just minus 0.1 at least, please. Yes, thank you. 0.5. Too much. 3. 25. Okay, thank you. And then at that, we almost have a freaking blade of grass. Now I can let me just put it to the output. I just want to see it. Let me resize the goddamn this thing. Yeah, this blade of grass looks like ass. Can I now do a bevel to try to adjust it? Not really. Okay. I can create a blade of grass like that and maybe create a bevel effect. Yeah, I have a blade of grass. One blade of grass created. Congrats, Ado. Almost 3 hours of stream and one blade of grass. Okay, now I can create like a couple of transformed versions, which of course I will have to, like, I don't know, 20 degree. I forgot that it would behave like that. I forgot that it would behave like that. What I wanted to do is to create like a circular repetition of this pattern. I don't think it is possible to do it right now. Yep. I have no freaking clue how to do it. Those mathematical operations won't do it. A input won't do it. Warp. Let's try once again with warp. It does something. And sine will just do that. Oh my god, so this is a stream of not achieving what you want, but hey, real game dev, that's sometimes what happens at work. You're trying to achieve something and you're spending hours and hours on that and it still doesn't work. the way you want to. So I cannot do it with transform. Cannot do it with noise, really. Yeah, with gradient I could probably, you know, create a gradient version of that blade of grass, but I still cannot put it into like a randomized pattern where all of the blades of grass will be randomly rotated in some kind of noisy pattern. I don't think I could do it here. Yeah. What is if then else? I'm not really sure how to use that. If operator greater than. Okay, that's interesting function for here. For this moment. Yeah, that is one node that I would love to have, like the repeater, where I could tell the texture that, hey, take this, repeat this texture, but not in like a typical grid fashion, like in the transform. Like in here where I will put this thing, I will tell it to repeat it like, I don't know, 16 and 16 times here, right? And it will create something like this. And this is the only way to... This is the only pattern that it will create. I would love to be able to select some kind of noisy pattern when it will repeat it in random positions with random rotations. Maybe add some ranges of stretching or whatever. That would be lovely. That's the one... I think that's the one change to either this node or adding completely new mode that would allow more of working with natural environment to be possible, right? You could take a peek at the Substance Designer nodes, even though you have a little bit different things in here. Having this kind of repeater would be awesome, because right now it just won't work out. Or will it? Wait a second. I just discovered something, but it is weird because it just does something like this. Okay, but it only changes the coverage, right? So how much of the whole texture it will take? And can I now offset it? I can do this. I can probably rotate it. That's great, but that's not exactly what I would want to. I can zoom out. I can try to do 300 zoom in. That's the amazing finish of the stream. I created a barcode. After almost 3 hours of stream, I created a barcode. Amazing, Adrian, amazing. Fill color, I can select a fill color to be, for example, black. So it should fill everything with black. Yeah, I created a barcode. Amazing. I created almost a checkerboard. Yeah, great. But I wanted to create a grass texture. What the hell? And I can show the debug grid. Awesome. Yeah, that's one thing that I would love to see. This kind of repeater where it would take the texture and start placing it randomly, rotate randomly, or maybe be able to provide a noise as a generator of position where things should be. Maybe I should write such node. That would be interesting. I wonder how those nodes are being created. Maybe that's a topic for the stream. I'm thinking like, hey, they should add this, they should add that. Maybe I should be the change I want to see in the world, which is try to implement this shit. It's not easy. I haven't implemented texture operations since basically university, when I had image processing classes. So it would be nice getting back to this old knowledge. Yeah, maybe we should create our own node that would do what I need. Maybe that's a food for thought for the future. No, double click doesn't open the C++ code. I will have to take a peek at how those nodes are being created, and maybe I would be able to do such repeater. Like, take some simple noise just to generate positions, randomly rotate whatever you put in there. Maybe we discovered this future stream together today. And that's where I will be able to get back to this and actually finish sand or grass texture. But we created a Klimt like something. And here. Okay, but yeah, but industrial things, like for example, those sewer thingies. I forgot the name of it. That seems like a no-brainer. Like, okay, let's take the pattern, or even better, let's take the shape, let it be rectangle. Let it be, I don't know, something like this. Let it have rounded edges, right? No beveling. Then we can actually transform. And we can create a repetition however we want. Okay, maybe too much. And you could probably color it. Yeah, you can right now work on that. You can invert it to make it, of course, look more like a actual thing. And let's put the color. Where the hell is the color? Yeah, color, multiply it. Bang, some gray-ish color, whatever. Of course, apply the noise to the color and apply the maybe some photo texture or whatever. Let's play around with the shape a little bit more. Yeah, and those 4 nodes, more definition of detail, and you could probably get, you know, a sewer output. Just like that. Yeah, of course, multiply the color with some noise maybe first. Noise. Yeah, whatever. Multiply it. You would get something like this, then you can put actually that into here. Of course, you know, that's the thing that would be hard to do right now, thinking about that. How to jack those edges so they actually look more realistic, because right now they do seem like the big cutout, and no amount of noise here will do anything to it. That's another operation that would be lovely. I wonder how that will look like. It's not exactly what I wanted. How about that? Yeah. There was some, yeah, trigonometry. Yeah. No, 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 no. Yeah, you would have to work out how to jack those edges so they don't look as quickly cut out. Yeah, but you could start working on those more industrial thingies in here, and yeah, you could do that stuff for your environment and game in here. But the natural looking things, not yet, let's say. Not yet. But I might... and I think I completely messed up everything in here in this shape. Oh my god, yeah, I've fucked up something. Anyway, yeah, I have to finish soon. Anyway, it seems like a nice tool. Apart from missing functions here and there, I didn't found any hard limitations to it, really. And I would love to explore in the future the topic of how to create your own node for that. Because it might unlock for some of y'all the possibility to, you know, do some nodes, put them on fab, and let other people play around with those nodes, etc. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I like this tool. I could spend like, you know, hours and hours on end trying to, you know, explore some cool things that you could do with it, right? Hours and hours on end. And explore this shit. Yeah, and I didn't have any crash. That's one thing. Experimental beta feature and I didn't have any crash. That's nice, I gotta say. And yeah, also, as we said, like some of the stuff that you can do in here, you usually do in Material Editor. So instead of doing it there, you could try to do it here and just export textures and then sample those textures inside of Material and save up on computation time. Yeah. And also exporting is real easy. In here, you just click export, select which one of the outputs you wanna export. That way you can quickly export all of the normals roughness maps, etc., etc. If you want. Yeah. I guess that will be me for today. It was nice coming back to streaming after Dev Marchy June to stream with y'all and talk with y'all. Finally. And there's nothing stopping me from streaming next Sunday. So I think we're on the roll. And here. So, I bid you farewell. I hope you have a nice rest of the day and an awesome weekend ahead of you. It's been nice spending this Sunday morning with y'all. Take care and have an amazing rest of the day and week. Bye bye. See you on next Sunday. Bye.